Live from WTOC, the Southeast news leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us here on WTOC Plus. We start with an update just into our newsroom. The FBI and Savannah Police Department are asking for doorbell and security camera footage from houses near Forsyth Park after that acid attack that happened last week. Now, here is a map of where they're asking for footage between 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. on December 10th, last Wednesday. They're specifically focusing on pedestrian traffic. Any pictures or videos related to the incident can be sent to fbi.gov/Forsyth Park attack. We also do have that link in our web story we just put up on WTOC.com. Well, in the last hour, the Public Service Commission voted to allow Georgia Power to add 10 gigawatts of power capacity, serving the state's rapidly growing data center industry. Georgia Power claims that plan will save customers roughly $8.50 a month between 2029 and 2031. However, critics have argued that the plan would affect future utility rates. They also said there needs to be greater transparency and stronger protections for customers. Earlier today, the Public Service Commission held a meeting with public testimony. It concluded with the vote that happened just around 1 p.m. today. And during that meeting, the commissioners heard from both supporters and opponents of the plan.
I highly recommend y'all think about what this means for our communities, right? We have seen the research that data centers are not good for our communities. And if we're being very transparent, it's going to affect people who look like me. It's going to affect people who are poor, people who are at a disadvantage.
The truth is the future of our economy and even the health of our democracy, I would argue, runs on data centers and artificial intelligence. And someone's data centers will power that in the future.
And data centers were a hot topic of discussion for Port Wentworth's residents last night during a city council meeting. You can see how packed it was right there. The city says they want to get ahead and set boundaries if data companies settle in the area. So they did approve an amendment last night during that council meeting. However, residents say they're concerned that water usage, noise disruption, traffic, and taxes would all go up with the adoption of data centers.
There's nobody that comes up and says, yes, I want it, it's a great idea, and you wonder why.
This name does not mean hearing concerns and then rushing to rewrite policy behind closed doors.
Without the proper factual information on how much revenue it's going to generate for Port Wentworth, it's all skeptical, right?
Right now, the city of Port Wentworth says they're not in contact with any specific data centers. However, city leaders say data corporations are already looking at sites across both Chatham and Effingham counties. Turning now to the crime watch, Cornelius Radford, the soldier accused of carrying out a mass shooting on Fort Stewart in August, has just pleaded not guilty. This happened less than 2 hours ago, late this afternoon, after he appeared in front of a military judge today. Radford has been charged with counts including attempted murder and assault and was arraigned in front of a military judge this afternoon. The Associated Press is reporting the arraignment comes a week after Army prosecutors referred Radford's case to a general court-martial, which handles serious crimes under military law. Radford is accused of shooting 5 fellow soldiers on Fort Stewart, as well as shooting a 6th person. All those soldiers were assigned to the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team of the 3rd ID. Radford has been held in pretrial confinement at the Naval Consolidated Brig Charleston since his last court appearance, which was days after the shooting. A trial date has just been set for June 15th of 2026. Well, an update to a story we've been following overnight. The Coast Guard search and rescue team has confirmed they have found a body near Blackbeard and Sapelo Islands. Officials cannot yet confirm the individual's identity, but we do know that the Coast Guard has been searching for 2 men named John Strickland and Roman Waldera. The body was transferred to a local coroner's office for further investigation. We will continue to keep you updated as this story develops. And happening right now, a jury is deliberating in the murder trial of Charles Teeple. Prosecutors say Tipo punched a Savannah resident named Bruce Helmy, who fell into a coma shortly after and died days later following the incident on New Year's Eve 2019. Closing arguments just wrapped up today with the prosecution fighting for convictions on 4 charges. Those include aggravated assault, exploitation and intimidation of an elderly person, as well as separate felony murder charges attached to both of those. The defense claimed the logic used by the prosecution involved inferring that the punch caused Helmy's death. The prosecution used statements from the doctor who provided the autopsy that say his cause of death was from assault. Both sides agree that the punch happened, but the jury will decide whether Helmy's death was the direct result of that punch or whether he could have died due to other medical issues. We'll bring you that verdict here as soon as we get it. And moving now to state news, a former UGA wide receiver will spend the rest of his life in prison for killing a gas station attendant outside of Athens. An Oconee County jury found Akil Crumpton guilty of murder in the 2021 shooting of 23-year-old Elijah Wood at a racetrack in Watkinsville. Crumpton is already serving 30 years on a federal conviction related to that case. Staying in Middle Georgia, the site of a popular TV show is now the site of a death investigation today after a young woman died at Emory's Briarcliff campus. Now, this abandoned hospital was featured in the series Stranger Things. Police say because of the show's popularity, this has been a popular site for fans to come and visit, despite no trespassing signs posted across the property. The abandoned building's address is widely available on the internet as one of the stops across Atlanta and Georgia for fans who want to see spots where Stranger Things was filmed. In the show, this building is known as Hawkins Lab and was pretty widely featured in seasons 1 and 2. But the building, now also the site of a death investigation, is actually part of Emory's campus. Now, we do still have a lot of questions surrounding the death, including whether or not foul play was involved, as well as how many people, if any, were with the young woman, who we now know was just 19 years old. In national news, President Donald Trump just signaled a major shift in federal drug policy. He signed an executive order yesterday that may reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. It could open up doors to new medical research. Right now, marijuana is considered a Schedule I drug, such as heroin and LSD. But Trump's order would change it to a Schedule III drug, like ketamine and anabolic steroids. It's a move that Republicans are skeptical of, but Democrats largely support. Now, Trump's executive order, however, does not change Georgia law. Right now, people can get low THC oil strictly for medical use as long as they have one of the qualified diseases permitted for that kind of treatment plan. However, the executive director of Georgians for Responsible Marijuana Policy says Trump's order is not about legalizing marijuana, just doing more research.
So there's a lot of research that says it has benefits and a lot that say it has harms. And we need to dive into those much more before we rapidly expand medical marijuana access. And this research will be able to allow us to dig deeper into the real benefits and harms of marijuana.
Trump says he also wants to work with Congress so seniors can use CBD products they find beneficial for pain. Well, we are continuing our year in review here on WTOC Plus. Earlier in the week, we looked at some of the top international and health headlines from 2025. And today we're looking at national stories where 2025 got off to a tragic start with a deadly New Year's Day terror attack in New Orleans. And then just about a week later, catastrophic wildfires devastated Los Angeles. As Bradley Blackburn reports, that was only the start of news stories that made national headlines this year.
Deadly flash flooding in central Texas killed more than 130 people in July, including 27 young campers and counselors at an all-girls Christian camp.
When I think about the trauma and fear that our girls endured, it makes me physically ill.
Wildfires in Los Angeles and neighboring areas burned for weeks in January, causing dozens of deaths and massive destruction.
We never imagined something like this happening, wiping out our entire community.
Wildfires during the summer destroyed historic buildings at the Grand Canyon. A pickup truck plowed into a crowd of revelers in New Orleans on New Year's Day, killing 14 people in what the FBI said was a deadly terror attack committed by an Army veteran.
He was 100% inspired by ISIS.
A gunman opened fire at a Midtown Manhattan office building where the NFL is headquartered, killing 4, including a police officer. 2 Catholic school children were killed in a shooting at their church in Minneapolis.
Calls from Brown University. They're reporting an active shooter.
2 Brown University students were shot and killed in a classroom during final exams. A young couple who worked for the Israeli embassy was gunned down leaving the Capital Jewish Museum, and an Egyptian national firebombed a pro-Israel demonstration in Boulder, Colorado.
Also, a helicopter and the plane crashed in the river.
In January, a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter and American Eagle regional jet collided over the Potomac River near Reagan National Airport, killing 67 people. In November, a UPS cargo plane crashed shortly after takeoff in Louisville, Kentucky, killing 14. 10 inmates who escaped from the Orleans Parish prison were all eventually recaptured after months on the run. Brian Koberger accepted a plea deal in exchange for life in prison for the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 50 months behind bars after being convicted of prostitution charges, but he was acquitted of more serious charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking.
These defendants...
The FBI announced the arrests of dozens of people, including current NBA players and a coach, in connection to investigations into alleged betting and poker schemes. It took him 11 years, but Rory McIlroy finally completed golf's Grand Slam when he won the Masters in April, becoming only the 6th player to do it. In hockey, the Washington Capitals' Alex Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's NHL record for most career goals scored.
Splashdown, Crew 9, back on Earth.
Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams finally made it home after their 8-day mission in space turned into 9 months. And finally, Dictionary.com's word of the year is 6'7". It doesn't seem to mean anything, but that didn't stop kids and teens from making it 2025's viral sensation. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
All right, well, how about a little bit of good news to round out our show here on a Friday, because a Savannah staple has returned to its full glory in Forsyth Park. Take a look at this. The city celebrated the pouring of water from the Forsyth Fountain with a ceremony this morning. Back in June, crews removed the landmark and took it to Alabama for restoration. The fountain has finally returned to the hostess city. That happened in September, which marked the beginning of the reinstallation process. And for months, residents and visitors walked by the heart of the park, waiting for the water to start spouting once again. City leaders said it was their goal to have it fully operational before St. Patrick's Day. Of course, one of Savannah's biggest celebrations of the year, now just about 3 months out, believe it or not. Crews turned the water on less than a week before Christmas, and people gathered around this morning to see the bright and beautiful fountain. Santa and Mrs. Claus even took photos with families in front of the landmark, as you can see. And speaking of Kris Kringle, as Santa gears up for his busiest night, America's armed forces are bracing for a busy Christmas Eve as well. Each year, Air and Space Force teams handle thousands of calls from children wanting an update on the reindeer's route. Gwen Bumgarner shares the history of the NORAD Santa Tracker. Take a look.
The mission at Colorado Springs Peterson Space Force Base doesn't stop for the holidays.
24/7, 365 days a year, we're monitoring the skies of North America for any airborne threats.
And when Santa makes his annual trek, Colonel Jason White says they have the equipment to keep tabs on his journey.
We use ground-based radars, satellites, airborne military aircraft.
Crews even rely on infrared sensors to monitor Rudolph's iconic nose. The information from the North American Aerospace Defense Command is quickly declassified, allowing any child who calls the NORAD Santa Tracker hotline to find out Kris Kringle's next stop.
Merry Christmas!
The very first call came in 70 years ago after a newspaper misprinted Santa's phone number in this advertisement. The number actually belonged to an Air Force Operations Center.
The individual that answered that phone didn't want to disappoint the child on the other end and just went with it. And then it was turned into an annual reoccurring Track Santa operation ever since.
The tradition lives on through dozens of volunteers answering phones on Christmas Eve, delivering Santa updates with military precision to tens of thousands of callers.
They logged 380,000 calls last Christmas Eve, and then several million social media engagements, 32 million website views in that one day.
In recent years, the operation has expanded with an online Santa tracker and website translations in 9 languages, allowing even more children to take part in the holiday cheer. Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Takes a team for sure. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. Appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. Of course, happy Friday. We're all getting ready for the weekend. And we will be back for another round of stories at the top of the hour for Welcome to Our Community with Dawn Baker at 3 o'clock. And in the meantime, for the latest stories and updates, you can always head on over to our website at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.